Hi everyone, it's Leandra from PaperArtsy here again, and it's time for me to introduce you into the next topic for the PaperArtsy blog. And this is topic 14 for the year, and as you can probably gather, the theme is flowers. This challenge runs from the 26th of July through until the 9th of August. So that's a 2-week period, and we'd love you to play along in the blog challenge and show us what you like to do and how you create flowers. Now there's so many different ways in the crafting area to be able to use your stamps as flowers, or perhaps make more dimensional flowers. I'm going to run through some samples and some of our stamps and how they can translate really easily into flowers. And here I've got an example of a stamp which was created but not really intended to be a flower, but Annika has used it very cleverly as a flower. She's actually got 2 stamps going on here. So in this stamp set of Emma Godfrey's, there's a couple of little squiggly swirls here. She's taken the smaller swirl and stamped it inside this larger open circle to create these fantastic flowers. So a really easy, simple idea and very achievable. Emma herself has also taken images from this stamp set, which is one of her newer ones, EEG09, and you can see that she's got what were intended to be sun type images, but of course the sun is very easily translated into a flower as well, depending on how you use it. On this sample here, she's stamped in paint, and on this one she's stamped in paint and then hand outlined it as well with the black pen here, or there's a solid and you can stamp over the top with the detail. So really great way, very easy way to make simple and effective cards. The same concept could quite easily be used with these images on this, which could be stars or they could be little windmills, but of course they could easily be flowers too. Now flowers is one of the themes that crosses over all of our designer collections. So from Lynn Brown, in the early days of her designing flower stamps, we had a lot of these solid images which were hand-carved stamps, and she used them in all kinds of ways on black card very effectively, stamped in paint, which obviously was a great opaque paint on top of black card to create some amazing things. So just search on the blog for images doing that. But some of her newer stamps here are much more refined in design, and I've got a few samples to show you which didn't actually arrive in time for our new blog posts that we did recently, but obviously they fit into this theme perfectly. So this is from Leslie Ebdon, and she's actually got the teasel image from this stamp set here, which she stamped onto fabric and then added some splatters onto the fabric and mounted that with there's a bit of padding in there behind it, and mounted that onto a card to make a card. So really lovely idea. I like how it comes, the angle that it comes on at, and she's used paints to just add a little bit of colour. And here's another one from Leslie using the same stamp set, and you can see she's got some inks across the bottom, archival inks, but she's also stamped and hung the bird cage, which is from one of Lynn's other sets, off this lovely sort of bluebell type image, and she's actually added a bit of dimension to the top of the bluebell as well. So again, a really creative way to use a flower stamp. Also, what's arrived recently in the post using this lovely stamp by Lynn are some fantastic samples by Gabrielle. And these again are using this awesome sunflower. There's 3 different middles that you can use, but on this particular sample here, Gabby's used those tiny little no-hole beads to create the center for the sunflower. So it's quite dimensional, but it's a really touchy-feely thing. And I do like how she's just folded along the vein of the leaf in the center there to just create a bit of dimension, and that's also accented by the way she's shaded with the paint, keeping the light areas there and putting the darker bit around the back. So that's a fantastic sample. She's also done this really cool tag. On this occasion, she's stamped the sunflower onto old book page, so you can sort of see the words coming through here on the stamped image quite happily, and the same with the tulip design, and then just used her paints to accent. Gorgeous colours, really nice sample. And of course another beautiful sample too, using the same idea. On this one, she hasn't blocked out the words, so she's just stamped directly onto the book page, and she's left the words a lot more visible, so it just adds that element of interest to the sunflower. But she's got great dimension, the way she's folded it folded the paper around and then let it set up. She must have covered it with gel medium or something because it's just really firm and solid. And I know that a book page would never be that firm and solid, but she's shaped it just beautifully to give it a really wonderful texture. So thanks Gabby for those really great samples using Lynn's flower stamps. So let's have a flick through some of the other stamps that we have that also utilise this theme. So this one here is one of Darcy's, and here's another book. This is a mini book, and it's got that stamp featured in black, but everywhere else lots of lovely shades have been blocked out, and to create this great book by Annika. And she's also dyed the tie that goes around the bottom of the book. So really simple but very elegant and a useful product, because it's great to have a little notebook like that in your handbag. Darcy's other stamp images, which are also, you know, she's got more plates in this. This is just 2 that gives you a great idea of some of the things. I like how this creates great depth in your backgrounds. Same with the one on this side. And then you've got some really cool feature stamps. And she's also created some at different heights so that if you're creating a garden type look, you can easily layer all of your flowers beautifully in front of each other. Now moving on to hot picks. We have loads of different hot pick stamps which feature flowers, and some of these of course are much more vintage style flowers, and these have always been really popular, and we try to create background elements that work as well. I'm sure you're familiar with these. They've been around quite a while, but they're just ever so popular. And we've also got some of those same images available as minis. The minis are credit card size stamps, and they always come on foam, all trimmed out, ready for you to work with. So those have been really popular and really nice to use. I often find, like, if you're giving someone a bunch of flowers and you do a little gift card, then that's a great size to work with. Now, Sarah Newman's got this plate, which has been ever so popular as well. And again, you can use these and cut them out really happily to create, you know, various dimensional flowers much more easily when you've got that sort of style. And of course, Liz Bora, whose style is much more Art Deco. And so her stamps, her flowers are really intricate. The design of them is very detailed, and so it gives you a lot to work with as far as adding dimension and adding colour with markers or felt tips, or you could use watercolours as well. And some of our newer hot picks, don't forget, here's an image from a couple of our newer ones, and these have been very popular. There's a lot of that coming through on the blog, that artwork coming through using these samples in the next few weeks. So those are really popular. And I'm just going to finish the video with some stamps by Jo. Jo Firth Young has always had flower stamps as the core of her line. You can buy plates where there's lots of flowers across the plate, so you can, you know, easily add dimension to what you're doing. And I do like these little circles here because, of course, they easily make flowers just by using those as flower heads too. This is probably one of my go-tos. I use this is Joffy 13. I use it a lot. I love the border, and I just find that all of these work really well together. And there's a nice little dragonfly that works too. And of course, Jo has stencils that work well with her stamps, and so does Lynn. She's created this where you can layer up your spots on top of your flowers to create flowers that way. And of course, when you're working with a stencil, it gives you the option to add some dimension with your grunge paste, or perhaps you've got gels. Even glass bead gel can look amazing through these stencil designs. So let's just look at a few samples with Jo's stamps. This is one of her newer stamps from this year as well, Joffy 36, and I quite like how Jo's come up with all kinds of ways of using that. So here you've got the feature flower, which she's stamped onto chipboard and added, but also this little 2 circles work really well in all kinds of ways, and sometimes she stamps this one onto book page and cuts them out and layers them up. So all kinds of elements in there that work really well. You see the mesh on the stamp there. She stamped that in white on the background just to create a really cool layering element. Onto plate 34. Here's another. This is just a quick tag that I made when I was demoing. So I did one of my braid background and then stamped the flower head onto the braid background and just cut that up and layered it onto the tag. And then the same with the border across the bottom. That was also using the braid background, but the rest of it is all just painted. And that's actually using one of Mark's newer stencils with the numbers on it. Joffy Plate 32 has been incredibly popular. Really quite sort of a design that's quite, I find it quite Japanesey in the style of it, and it's really fun to use. All of these flowers work really well. Here you can see I've got the stencil that I showed you a few seconds ago is in the background there. Some really muted colours in the background. So it was all done in pinks and blues, and a pink, yellow and a sort of orange in the background, and then whitewashed, and then the elements came on top, and they're all just stamped, painted and cut out and layered on top. This is one of Jo's new stamps, and I showed you this a couple of weeks ago by Claire Charvel, and her colour scheme is very subdued with the lovely neutral tones where she's got chalk and buff out of Jo's limited edition paint set, and then again she's given real dimension to this gorgeous spiky flower, and really picked that out and used that in the blues and the beige tones. And then really clever how she's used the border across the bottom to add other sort of floral elements in a really clever way. So that's a great sample. Now we somehow forgot to show you this, and it hasn't got a flower on it, but it's got a really cool prickly caterpillar, which Lauren Hatwell made for us. And I don't know how it didn't get into the video. We must have somehow set it to one side or something, but this caterpillar is actually painted onto canvas, and she's cut that out and layered it up. But I do like how she's made him sort of look a little bit scary. It's a great card. And then lastly, we'll just finish off with Jo's blobby stamps. So this was a board that I made recently for a retailer training event, and it's quite a simple concept. If I show you the earlier stage, so the background was stamped, and then the image stamped over the top, and then the this was stamped again onto old book page that had been coloured, and that was just cut out and layered on top. And then when you add a little bit of colour to these background elements, it just all comes to life. So where it looks very flat there, as soon as you add colour to it, everything just pops up off the background. So that's using Jo's blobby stamps. So there's just a few things. I mean, there's Prima flowers that you can buy and use as embellishments. You can make dimensional objects. You could make your own little paper flowers to go in a terracotta pot. You know, there's so many things that you could do with this theme. And it being the middle of summer here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's a good time to have a flower theme. So we hope that you get to play along with that, and that it inspires you to make something yourself over the next 2 weeks. Remember that you've got from tonight, which is the 26th of July, through to the 9th of August to join us in this challenge on the PaperArtsy blog.